In the case of ordinary bills, these are the options which Rajya Sabha has. Right, you have understood this point. Now let us look at money bills. In case of money bills, Rajya Sabha does not have this option. It does not have this option. Okay. It does not have this option. The only option which is available to Rajya Sabha is to make some recommendations about certain changes which are necessary, and these recommendations will be sent to Lok Sabha, and these recommendations have to be made within 14 days. Okay, if Rajya Sabha does not make these recommendations in 14 days and send the bill back to Lok Sabha, if it had not made any recommendations in 14 days, then it will be considered as passed by Rajya Sabha. The money bill will be considered as passed by Rajya Sabha. This is the first option, that is not take any action for 14 days. If Rajya Sabha does not take any action for 14 days, then the money bill will be considered as passed by Rajya Sabha. If it has taken some action and recommended certain changes to the bill, then the bill will be sent to Lok Sabha. Okay. Now Lok Sabha has two options of accepting these recommendations and rejecting these recommendations. The Lok Sabha has the option of accepting the recommendations made by Rajya Sabha, and it also has the option of rejecting the recommendations made by Rajya Sabha. Now what will happen in these two instances? In the first instance, if Lok Sabha has accepted the recommendations made by Rajya Sabha, then the bill will be considered as passed by Parliament with these changes. In the first instance, if Lok Sabha has accepted the recommendations made by Rajya Sabha and it has accepted the changes to the bill, then the bill will be considered as passed by Parliament with these changes recommended by Rajya Sabha. Is this point clear to you? Yes? You understood? Yes? Now, second option. Lok Sabha also has the option of rejecting these recommendations. Now, if Lok Sabha has rejected the recommendations made by Rajya Sabha, then the bill will be considered as passed by Parliament in the original form. What is this original form? Right. In the form in which Lok Sabha has passed the bill. Initially, money bill can only be introduced in Lok Sabha, right? Lok Sabha has passed the bill. Rajya Sabha has recommended certain changes in the bill. It went back to Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha has rejected these recommendations. If Lok Sabha rejects these recommendations, then the bill will be considered as passed by Parliament in the original form in which Lok Sabha has passed. Okay, so Rajya Sabha has restricted powers vis-a-vis money bills. The only thing which Rajya Sabha can do is stall a money bill for 14 days. That is the only thing which is in the control of Rajya Sabha, to stall a money bill or to stop a money bill for 14 days. Okay, Rajya Sabha cannot make any changes to money bills. It can only recommend changes, and Lok Sabha has the option of accepting these changes or rejecting these changes. And the fate of the bill does not depend on Lok Sabha accepting or rejecting these recommendations, unlike for ordinary bills. Remember, for ordinary bills, if Rajya Sabha has made certain amendments and if it is not acceptable to Lok Sabha, then there is a case of deadlock. But here there is no case of deadlock. Even if Lok Sabha rejects the recommendations of Rajya Sabha, the bill will be considered as passed by Lok Sabha in the original form. Is it clear? So there is no case of deadlock in case of money bills. Deadlock only arises vis-a-vis ordinary bills. Procedure clear for money bills? Is there a provision for joint sitting in case of money bills? No, because there is no deadlock. Now financial bills.
When ordinary bills are considered as money bills, so in certain cases like how other are considered as the money bill, then what will happen?
The procedure which is prescribed for money bill will be followed. If the speaker has certified a bill to be a money bill, then the procedure which is prescribed for money bill will be followed. And the decision of speaker is final.
Then what about Article 110?
Yes, the speaker has to follow Article 110 theoretically.
So he has to reject.
I
mean, you should say it's not a money bill but ordinary bill.
Yes, the speaker has discretion to certify a bill as money bill or not is the discretion of the speaker. Now the speaker must utilize his powers properly. If he transgresses the constitution, we cannot do anything because the speaker's decision is final, whether to certify a bill as money bill or not. Now this case is still pending in the court, in the Supreme Court. Whether the speaker's decision to certify a bill as a money bill is subject to judicial review or not is a question which is still pending before the Supreme Court. Whether to subject speaker's power to certify a bill as money bill to judicial review is still before the court.
Who puts these things in court?
Anyone. You can challenge it as a PIL, you can challenge it as special leave petition. There are various options available to you. Or you can challenge it under Article 32, whatever. You have various options available. Or you can challenge it for violation of basic structure, for unconstitutionality, for arbitrariness. Supreme Court has lot of criteria which it follows for deciding constitutionality of bills.
The speaker has to follow the provisions mentioned in money bills, like only these bills are money bills.
Right, he has to follow, theoretically, he has to follow.
Why would he have a problem with his discretion? Because he's following whatever is mentioned.
If he follows, there is no problem. The problem occurs when he does not follow. What is the remedy which is available to you if the speaker does not follow the provisions of the constitution? Do you have the remedy of judicial review or not? Okay, the speaker has certified Aadhaar bill as a money bill. Aadhaar bill does not only contain provisions about Article 110, it contains various other provisions, right? But still the speaker has certified Aadhaar bill as money bill. Okay, there was also an instance when Arun Jaitley was finance minister, finance bill, which we will discuss about very soon. Finance bill is a bill which deals with imposition of taxes. Okay, it deals with the taxation policy of the government. It is generally passed during budget. Now, when Arun Jaitley was finance minister, this finance bill, which is a money bill, because it deals with taxation, also contained various other provisions. It contained provisions about electoral bonds. Do you know about electoral bonds? If not, please do read about it. It's a very important topic. It contained provisions about electoral bonds. It contained provisions about tribunals. Now, all these are matters which do not fall under Article 110. Then how can the speaker certify this finance bill as a money bill if it also contains provisions of general legislation? Okay, so that is the controversy around money bills. Now, financial bills type 1. Article 117 clause 1. Now, the definition of financial bill type 1 is that the bill contains not only the provisions mentioned in Article 110, but it also contains matters of general legislation. If the bill contains not only the provisions mentioned in Article 110, but also matters of general legislation, like your Aadhaar bill, then it will be called as a financial bill type 1. Now, the similarity between financial bill and money bill is that both these bills can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. Both money bills and financial bill type 1 can be introduced only in Lok Sabha, and they can be introduced only with prior recommendation of President. Okay, these are the only two similarities between money bill and financial bill type 1. The same procedure which is followed for ordinary bills will also be followed for financial bill type 1, except two, that is introduction in Lok Sabha and only in Lok Sabha, and requiring prior recommendation of President. Every other procedure is common for ordinary bills and financial bills type 1. That is, it can be introduced by a minister or by a private member. It goes through first reading, second reading, third reading in one house. If Rajya Sabha is the second house, it has the option of accepting, rejecting, amending, or not taking any action for 6 months. Whatever procedure is applicable for ordinary bills is also applicable for financial bills type 1, except two, that is, it can be introduced only in Lok Sabha unlike ordinary bills, and it has to be introduced with prior recommendation of President unlike ordinary bills. Is this clear? Financial bills type 1. Now let us come to financial bill type 2. Article 117 clause 3. Now the definition of financial bill type 2 is that these bills deal with expenditure from Consolidated Fund of India, but it does not deal with any provisions in Article 110. Financial Bill Type 2 deals with expenditure from Consolidated Fund of India or appropriation from Consolidated Fund of India, but it does not deal with any provisions in Article 110. It deals with expenditure, but not the type of expenditure mentioned in Article 110. Okay, now the procedure governing Financial Bill Type 2 is the same as ordinary bills. Whatever procedure governs ordinary bills also governs Financial Bills Type 2. It can be introduced either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, either by a minister or by a private member. First reading, second reading, third reading. Rajya Sabha has 4 options. All this procedure is applicable to Financial Bills Type 2. The only difference between ordinary bills and Financial Bills Type 2 is that Financial Bills Type 2 can be considered by the House only on recommendation of President. Financial Bills Type 2 can be considered by the House only on recommendation of President. Now please pay attention. It is not for introduction that you require prior recommendation. It is for consideration you require prior recommendation of President. You don't require prior recommendation for introduction of a Financial Bill Type 2. You require prior recommendation for consideration of Financial Bill Type 2. What is the meaning of consideration? Right, discussing clause by clause. This discussion of clause by clause can happen in a house only on prior recommendation of President. This is the only difference between Financial Bill Type 2 and ordinary bill. Every other requirement is the same. Is it clear? Now you have to tell me about constitutional amendment bills. We have already discussed the procedure to be followed for constitutional amendment bills. Right, what is the procedure? Sorry?
The amendment is related to state
Tell me from the beginning. In which house can you introduce constitutional amendment bills? Who can introduce constitutional amendment bills? What is the type of majority which is required? What happens if the second house rejects constitutional amendment bills? What are the options which the President has vis-a-vis constitutional amendment bills? Yes.
By special majority,
Yes.
can be introduced in any of
Right. It can be introduced in any house. It can be introduced either by a minister or by a private member. Okay. It requires special majority. There are certain provisions in the Constitution which can be amended with simple majority also. If a provision can be amended by simple majority, then you will not consider it as an amendment under Article 368. Example is changing the names of states, altering the boundaries of states. Okay, these are not considered as amendments under Article 368. Only those provisions which require special majority will be considered as amendments under Article 368. And there are 2 types of special majorities under Article 368. What are they? Right. What is the special majority? Okay. 50% of total strength of the house. Two conditions are required to be satisfied. Majority of total membership and 2/3 of those present and voting. This is special majority. Certain provisions also require ratification by state legislatures. These are federal provisions in the constitution. Amending federal provisions in the constitution requires ratification by state legislatures along with special majority in parliament. Right? And constitutional amendment bills will have to be passed separately in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. There is no provision for joint sitting in case of constitutional amendment bills. And the second house has the option of accepting, rejecting, amending and not taking any action. And once the constitutional amendment bill is passed by parliament, it will be sent to the president and the president has no option but to accept constitutional amendment bills. Okay, this is the procedure for these types of bills.
Ma'am, second house not taking action for how many days or months?
6 months. What will happen then? The bill will lapse. Okay. So we have seen the legislative procedure for ordinary bills, money bills, financial bills type 1, type 2 and also constitutional amendment bills. Now let us start budget. Budget in parliament. Okay. Now the word budget is not used in the constitution. The phrase used is annual financial statement. Article 112 of Indian Constitution deals with provisions related to annual financial statement. Your Article 112 says that President has the duty to ensure that annual financial statement is laid before Parliament every year. President has the duty to ensure that annual financial statement is laid before Parliament every year. So the phrase used is annual financial statement and not budget. But in common parlance, we use the word budget and annual financial statement interchangeably. Now, what does this budget actually contain? Every year you see finance ministers making budget speeches, right? They carry one briefcase to the parliament which will be photographed by all the news channels. The minister will take the briefcase, will pose for a picture, go to the parliament, read out budget speech for 1 hour, 2 hours, right? And which will be telecasted in all the news channels. So budget is very important. Every year it is important for the citizens of the country and also for UPSC aspirants because many questions come from budget in your prelims and in your mains. And any new scheme introduced by the government in your budget will become important for your exam. Okay. But don't read the entire budget document. It's not necessary for us. Summaries will be given almost by everyone. Go through any one of those authoritative summaries, that will suffice. Okay. Now this budget contains the following provisions. First is, it will contain the estimated revenue and expenditure of the union government for the ensuing financial year. Not for the past financial year, for the ongoing or the current financial year. How much of revenue will I get and how much of expenditure am I going to make in the next financial year will be given in the budget. So what is financial year? Right. And your budget will be presented in the month of February. So for the next financial year from April 1st, what will be my estimated revenue till March 31st of next year, and what will be my estimated expenditure? Okay, a budget, let us say, is being presented in February 2023. Okay, now for the financial year of 2023-24, that is starts from April 1st 2023 till March 31st 2024, what will be my estimated revenue and what will be my estimated expenditure of union government will be mentioned in the budget. Okay, and it will also mention actual revenue and expenditure for the past financial year, that is for the financial year 2022 to 23. What is the actual revenue and what is the actual expenditure? Budget would have estimated something, but what is the actual revenue in this financial year? What is the actual expenditure? Okay, so this estimated expenditure will be given for financial year 2023-24, whereas this actual revenue and these details will be given for financial year 2022-23. Okay, then it will also contain ways and means of raising the revenue. Ways and means of raising the revenue. That is, I will collect so much of money under income tax, I will collect so much of money under GST. What are the ways and means which the union government is going to use to raise this revenue? Will be mentioned in the budget. Okay, then it will also outline the expenditure policy of the government. It will also outline the expenditure policy of the government. What is expenditure policy? That I am going to spend so much of money on laying roads and bridges. I am going to spend so much of money under Arogyasri. I am going to spend so much of money on so and so scheme. This is expenditure policy of the government, which will also be outlined in the budget. Clear? Then finally it will also mention charged expenditure. Okay, so these are the provisions in a budget speech. It will mention the estimated revenues and expenditures of ensuing financial year, actual revenues and expenditure, ways and means of raising the revenue, and the expenditure policy of the government. All this will be outlined in the budget speech. Is it clear? Do you have any doubts? Now in India we don't follow different types of budgets. That is, there is no railway budget and general budget. There is one single budget for everything. Earlier we used to present a separate budget for railways, which does not happen anymore. We have a single budget presentation for the past 2 or 3 years. Okay, now let us look at the constitutional provisions. Constitutional provisions about budget. Okay, the first provision is that the President of India must ensure that this annual financial statement is laid before Parliament every year. This is the first constitutional provision. Okay, then the second provision is no demand for grant. No demand for grant can be made. No demand for grant can be made without prior recommendation of President. No demand for grant can be made without prior recommendation of President. What is the demand for grant? It is the money which a ministry is asking. It is a demand which the ministry is making, that I want so much of money. I have to run so and so schemes, so I need so much of money. This is a demand which the ministry is making in parliament, and if the parliament approves the demand, only then a demand will become a grant. Till then it will be called as a demand for grant. If the demand is accepted by the parliament, then it will become a grant. Is it clear? Now demand for grants can be introduced in the house only on prior recommendation of president. Okay, this is also mentioned in the constitution, that no demand for grant can be made without prior recommendation of president.
And president needs to take advice from council of ministers.
Yes. Then the third provision is no tax can be levied. No tax can be levied or collected except under authority of law. No tax can be levied or collected except under authority of law. What is the meaning of this statement? That no tax can be levied without or except under authority of law. Not independent person. If the government wants to impose a tax on you, it has to receive approval of parliament. The parliament has to pass a legislation authorizing the government to collect the tax. For example, if the government is collecting income tax from you, it was authorized by the parliament under Income Tax Act. Only then the government will have the authority to collect income tax from you. Now let us look at GST, Goods and Services Tax. It is an indirect tax which the government is collecting from you. Again, the parliament has passed the GST Act authorizing the government to collect GST from you. Service tax. Earlier we used to have service tax. Parliament passed Service Tax Act, only then the government got the authority to collect service tax from you. So if the government wants to impose any tax on you, the parliament has to authorize the government by passing a legislation. Is it clear? That is the meaning of the statement, no tax can be levied except under authority of law. What is that law? It is a legislation passed by the parliament. The government cannot simply give an order saying that from today we are going to collect so and so tax from the citizens. It has to get the approval of parliament. It has to introduce a bill in parliament, get the approval of parliament, only then it can levy tax on citizens. Okay. Then the fourth constitutional provision is no money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India. No money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India except under appropriation made by law. No money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India except under appropriation made by law. What is the meaning of this? For the government to get money to spend, it has to receive approval of parliament. Only when parliament gives approval, the government can withdraw money from Consolidated Fund of India to spend. And the parliament gives this approval by passing appropriation bill. Appropriation bill is passed by parliament authorizing the government to withdraw money from Consolidated Fund of India to spend for various schemes and programs.
No money can be consolidated except for?
Except under appropriation made by law.
Ma'am, can the Kerala government be an example of this?
What happened in Kerala?
Recent news, like the Kerala government has debt and it is borrowed from the government already, so like it has to take the permission of the government in order to take more.
Right. So that provision we will deal with it in center-state financial relations. In center-state financial relations, you will see what are the borrowing powers of center and what are the borrowing powers of states. If the state has an outstanding loan with the central government, it has to receive approval or consent of union government to borrow once again.
This is not similar to.
No, it's not. Okay, here we are only talking about union government. If, for example, Ministry of Home Affairs wants to spend money on some scheme, it cannot directly withdraw money from consolidated fund. First, it has to receive approval of Parliament under appropriation law for the next financial year. Only then the ministries will be authorized to withdraw money from consolidated fund. What is consolidated fund? It is simply a locker into which all the revenues of the union government will go in. For example, if the union government is collecting income tax, where will it go? Where is this revenue maintained? It is maintained in consolidated fund. You can simply think of it as a bank locker into which all the money or revenue of union government will be put in. Is it clear? Okay. Every penny which the union government receives will be arranged in 3 lockers. 1 is consolidated fund, 2 public account, 3 contingency fund. Most of the money will go into consolidated fund. And to withdraw money from consolidated fund, you require approval of Parliament, which is given under Appropriation Act, which is passed during budget session. So, when you think of budget session, it is not only budget speech. After budget speech, lot of things happen. Demand for grants are discussed, they are voted upon, appropriation bill is passed, finance bill is passed. Only then you say budget session has concluded. So, budget session is not simply finance minister making budget speech. That is introduction of budget session. Budget session starts with the budget speech of the minister. Even before that you have president's address, but that's a separate matter.
How money is bifurcated in these 3 funds?
We will see later. The tax revenue goes into consolidated fund. If, for example, government gets some money from a provident fund, every month employees provident fund is paid, right? Now that money is not government's money. It is your money which has to be paid back to you on your retirement. But in the meantime, government will act as a custodian of that money. And in the meantime, government can use it for various schemes and programs. Okay, and for withdrawing money from provident fund, the government does not require approval of Parliament. Okay, another example is post office saving schemes. You keep saving money in post office saving schemes, right? They are actually your money which have to be given back to you on the expiry of the scheme. Once the tenure of the scheme is over, that money has to be given back to you with interest, right? But in the meantime, who is the custodian? It is the government of India which is custodian. Oh, you are able to follow? National pension scheme. Every year you keep paying money, right? On your retirement, the government has to give you some lump sum amount, and every month the government will give you pension, right? But in the meantime, your money is being held by the government. Now that type of money will go into public account, whereas tax revenue will go into consolidated fund. You are able to follow? Government has borrowed some money, that will also go into consolidated fund. In public account, you will only see that type of money which is being held by the government for a temporary period, like post office saving schemes, national pension schemes, Provident fund money. Clear? Okay. Then the next constitutional provision about budget is the powers of both the houses vis-a-vis budget. What are the powers of Lok Sabha and what are the powers of Rajya Sabha? Now here constitution mentions two things. One is only Lok Sabha has the privilege of voting on demand for grants. Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demand for grants. It can only discuss demand for grants, whereas Lok Sabha has the privilege of voting on demand for grants. Okay, and finance bill, which is basically a money bill, can be introduced only in Lok Sabha, and Rajya Sabha has truncated powers vis-a-vis finance bill. Okay, then finally the constitution says that the expenditure which you are showing must be divided into revenue and capital expenditure. You have to show revenue and capital expenditure separately. You have to show revenue and capital expenditure separately. Now what is revenue expenditure? What is capital expenditure? Building roads and bridges, building schools, all this will fall under capital expenditure. You are creating assets through capital expenditure. Subsidies, they will fall under revenue expenditure. Salaries and pensions will fall under revenue expenditure. Okay, so revenue expenditure is that type of expenditure where there is no creation of assets, whereas for capital expenditure you are creating assets. Okay, now these two types of expenditure must be shown separately in the budget is what the constitution says. Then it also says that charged expenditure and expenditure made from Consolidated Fund of India must be shown separately. We have seen that certain types of expenditures are charged on Consolidated Fund of India. For example, salary of speaker. Right, salary of speaker, salary of Supreme Court, High Court judges, all these type of expenditures are charged expenditures. That is, they are charged on Consolidated Fund of India and they are not subject to annual vote. Parliament does not vote annually on this expenditure. Charged expenditure can only be discussed in Parliament during budget session, but it will not be voted upon. Okay, so this charged expenditure and expenditure made from Consolidated Fund of India. Any expenditure which is not charged is an expenditure made from Consolidated Fund of India. Okay, these two must be shown separately.